The outpost on Kara 9 wasn't supposed to be dangerous. It was a research station, nothing more. A collection of prefabricated modules dropped onto a moon where the air was breathable and the wildlife supposedly docile. Lyra had been there for 3 months, cataloging plant samples and running atmospheric tests, alone except for the hum of her equipment and the whisper of alien wind through crystalline trees. She found the creature on a Tuesday, if Tuesdays still meant anything this far from Earth. It was small, no larger than a terrier, with midnight blue fur that shimmered like oil on water. 6 legs, she noted clinically, even as her heart clenched at the sight of it dragging one hind limb behind its body. The leg bent at an unnatural angle, and dark blood, purple, not red, stained the moss beneath it. The creature's eyes found hers. They were too intelligent, too aware. Golden irises contracted in the light from her flashlight, and it made a sound halfway between a whimper and a growl. "Easy," Lyra whispered, though she knew it couldn't understand her. "I'm not going to hurt you." She'd been trained for first contact protocols, but those assumed intelligence and communication. This was just an injured animal. Still, something in those eyes made her move slowly, carefully as she approached with her medical kit. The creature, she'd later learned the Karen locals called his species Rauk. Hunters that bonded for life didn't flee. It watched as she knelt in the moss as she opened her kit with steady hands that belied her racing pulse. When she reached for the injured leg, it growled, a deep rumble that vibrated through her bones. "I know," she said softly, "but I can help, please." Perhaps it understood her tone. Perhaps it simply had no strength left to fight. Either way, it allowed her to examine the leg. A clean break, thankfully, not compound. She had bone-knit gel in her kit, designed for human injuries but worth trying. The creature hissed when she applied it but didn't bite. Lyra worked quickly, wrapping the leg in synthetic bandaging, creating a small splint from her sample collection rods. The creature's breathing slowed as she worked, those golden eyes never leaving her face. "There," she said when she finished. "Give it a few days. Stay off it if you can." She stood, backing away slowly. The creature struggled to its feet, or rather its 5 good feet, and limped 3 steps before sitting heavily. It looked at her again, and Lyra could have sworn she saw something like gratitude in its gaze. She returned to her module thinking that would be the end of it. She was wrong. The next morning, she found the creature curled beside her door. It lifted its head when she emerged, those golden eyes tracking her movements. Lyra paused, uncertain. She'd left food outside during the night, ration bars that probably tasted like cardboard to any sensible creature, but they were untouched. "You should go home," she said. "Back to your pack or family or whatever you have." The creature stood still, favoring its injured leg, and positioned itself squarely in front of her door. It sat. It watched. Lyra went about her work, acutely aware of her new guardian. She checked on it throughout the day, changed its bandage once, though it growled at her touch. By evening it had finally eaten the ration bars. Days passed. The creature, she started calling it Rauk for lack of a better name, refused to leave. It sat by her door at night. During the day it followed her at a distance when she went to check her equipment, always staying between her and the forest's edge. On the 5th night, Lyra understood why. She woke to Rauk's snarling, a sound that raised every hair on her body. Through her module's window she saw them. 3 massive shapes emerging from the tree line. They moved like wolves but stood tall as bears, with too many teeth in mouths that split their faces in half. Predators. The kind her briefing materials had mentioned only in passing. The kind that supposedly avoided human settlements. Rauk stood between them and her door, small and injured and impossibly brave. The creature's fur stood on end, making it appear twice its size, and that rumbling growl had become a roar that seemed too large for its body. Lyra's hand found her plasma pistol. Standard issue, rarely used. She unlocked her door. "Rauk, get inside." The creature didn't move. The predators circled, testing, looking for weakness. One lunged. Rauk met it mid-leap, a blur of midnight fur and flashing teeth. They collided with a sound like thunder, and the predator yelped, actually yelped, as Rauk's jaws found its throat. The other 2 hesitated. Lyra didn't. She fired twice, plasma bolts lighting up the night. She didn't aim to kill, just to scare. The bolt struck the ground between the predators and moss exploded into flame. That was enough. The wounded one retreated and its companions followed, disappearing into the crystal trees with sounds like distant thunder. Rauk stood in the scorched grass, panting, blood on its muzzle, its own or theirs. Lyra couldn't tell. It turned to look at her and she saw it clearly now. This wasn't gratitude. This was a debt paid. This was honor. This was pack. Come inside, Lyra said quietly, holding her door open. Please. Rauk limped forward and crossed the threshold. It turned 3 circles before settling on her floor, golden eyes closing at last. Lyra sat beside it, her hand resting gently on its shoulder. The creature's breathing slowed, steadied. After a moment, a deep purr rumbled through its body, a sound like distant engines, like contentment, like home. Thank you, she whispered. Outside, the moons of Kara 9 continued their eternal dance. Inside, a human and a Rauk slept side by side, bound by something older than language, deeper than species. By morning, when Rauk's leg had healed enough to run, it still didn't leave. It never would.